Okay, I'm going to talk today about, well, we're going to finish the lectures 14 and 15. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when I say I want you to, this is the only way I have of knowing that you did anything, is by you recording your counseling notes. And what I'm talking about is this is a discussion page. There's enough of you that there's going to be 2 pages, by the way. So if you uh, if you can't find somebody on the first page, they may be on the second page. Anyway, so let's say that somebody wants to counsel Lisa White, Jewel Thompson's character. They'll call Jewel Thompson. They will contact Jewel Thompson either by telephone or by Skype or by Duo or Zoom, and they will have a conversation with her as Lisa White. It should be about 30 minutes long, 30 to 45 minutes long. And when you're done, I want you to talk. I want you to log in uh, what it your lecture notes or your counseling notes. Now the point is, or the thing is, that this is the only way I have of knowing that you did it, is by you putting the notes in there. It also can help the next person if they decide that they would like to counsel her. Now you need 10 counseling sessions, and you also need 10 counseling sessions. So, but I don't want you to counsel anybody more than a couple times, and that's because I want you to get practice in dealing with different individuals. And as you can see, there are a number of them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, 8, 9. We have 9 people who, I think that's it. Yeah, there's only one page. There's 9 people. So the rest of you need to get your characters set up, and you need to mail the history of that character in. You need to give them a random name. It can't be your name, of course. You are not the one being counseled. It is your character, and of course your character doesn't have any problems that you've ever had. So that's how you do it, and that's what we're going to be doing for the next 5 weeks. You can make telephone conversations. People counsel on the telephone all the time. Like I said before, this is going to be the wave of the future, and we need to get in on the wave as working on our counseling at Dene College. So there you go. That's what I want you to do. Let me get rid of this, and we'll start our lecture today. There we go. Okay, that's the last chapter. That's chapter 15. Let's do 14 first, just to keep them in order. There we go. Okay. Taking action. This is chapter 14. When the practitioner needs to learn specifics about the problem, such as where the problem occurs, who is involved, what are the immediate antecedents and consequences, what meanings are attributed to the problem, then that's what they need to do. That's what they need to be probing. Probe is not the right word, or trying to find out anyway. Understanding the environment can require further exploration. What kind of a family does the individual, or does the individual have a family at all? What neighborhood do they live in? What school do they go to? The agency they work for, potentially, significant groups that they deal with. Lately, we've had problems politically with right-wing groups such as the Boogaloo Boys and the Proud Boys, white supremacists. We've had problems with that. So if somebody is a member of one of these groups, then it's good to know that. Organizations that they may belong to, what culture do they adhere to, what is their race, socioeconomic class of the client. All of these are important pieces of information. When I first started studying counseling in the middle 70s, action plans were either developed by the counselor or the agency the counselor worked for. Clients were thought to be too downtrodden to be able to help. So counseling has evolved over time, and this is one of the things I want you to remember. I'm looking at the book that I learned to counsel with, and it didn't have anything about trying to get the client to be part of the decision-making process. As a matter of fact, it was a fairly liberal program that I went through. It was a Rogerian counseling program using Egan's model, and Egan's model is a social work model that is used. Of course, we learned to do Gestalt and Freud and Freudian psychoanalysis and Ellis and all the rest of them. But that's the one that we were primarily trained on. Things are different. Now, of course, action plans have to do with collaboration with the client. Steps identified by the clients involved clients you need to involve the clients in developing an action plan. This will strengthen the working relationship and teaches clients skills. It also forces them to buy into whatever it is that the plan is. If you just make it up yourself, it's easy for them to reject it. They probably have been rejecting other people's ideas most of their lives, and that is maybe one of the reasons that they have such problems. Families and groups all need to contribute to what's going on. Ask clients which steps they see as difficult. Steps suggested by one member of the family or groups may seem easy to one and not to others, of course. We'll just stop, we'll just leave if you're being abused, that kind of thing. It seems easy to everyone else, but for the person that has to do it, of course, it's not nearly as easy. The steps must be small enough that everyone can feel like they can work on the issue. So small steps at a time. We don't want you going to, if somebody's an alcoholic, you don't want them going to Alcoholics Anonymous every day. That's not a small step. That's a huge step. That's a total immersion, and that's probably not the best idea. You need to get them to slowly change the way their lifestyle and whatnot. Past successes can help identify steps and strengths. The practitioner can use exception-finding questions to identify steps. This is similar to the goal-setting process, of course. Recall exception-finding questions you might ask. Recall a time when the problem did not occur, and let's identify what you were doing at the time. Brainstorm as many steps as possible without critiquing them. Evaluate each possible step. Organize steps by prioritizing what is first, second, and etc. A good example of that would be someone who is depressed and they have a drinking problem. So which one do you work on first? Well, if you work on the depression, then you're not going to really you need to deal with the depression first and wait for the alcohol problem. If you take care of the depression, then it might potentially alleviate the need to drink. So you need to figure out what is the driving force, and that's what you need to deal with first. It may take care of all the tertiary problems, all the secondary problems that have arisen because of it. Family problems that have arisen because of the drinking problem. Organize steps by prioritizing what is first and second. The clients need to see value in each step. It is essential to work with clients on how they can use their strengths and capacities and resources at each step. The client needs to think about other times when they have faced new tasks. Organizing and creating incremental steps helps ensure success and helps the client to gain confidence. This process also teaches clients the process of creating plans to achieve goals. The practitioner needs to evaluate whether the client is satisfied with their progress. The practitioner can reuse the monitoring system that was established in goal setting. Little progress may relate to whether the whether the client felt goals were attainable or highly valued. And this is one of the reasons they need to buy into it. If they don't buy into it, then nothing's going to happen. And that's why they need to be part of the collaboration. You need to collaborate with your clients. The progress made may seem slower to the practitioner. The practitioner should always emphasize positive steps. It is the client that's doing it, so the practitioner shouldn't set the timeline. The client should. Monitoring progress. What steps have you taken since our last meeting to move toward your goals? In the last week, what did each of you do to help make your time together go well? Between now and the next time we meet, I want you to find one aspect of your behavior that went well and that you'd like to continue doing. After talking to your boss, how did you feel about yourself? Will you tell us about what you did that made things go better this week in your family? We have been working together for a few weeks now. Let's focus on what we have accomplished. Teaching can convey information. New information might help clients achieve their goals. Teaching can take place in sessions, workshops, etc. Teaching might involve diversity issues, resolving conflicts, making decisions, and/or leading a group. Role-playing or rehearsing can be useful. Practicing a new behavior in a safe environment increases confidence. During the action phase, it is appropriate for some and sometimes necessary for the practitioner to be directive. Being directive involves asking clients to do something new or to go in a different direction. And of course, this is something that we try to keep you from doing, is being directive. You need to allow the client to control things, but sometimes you need to tell them, stop it, this is what you need to do. Imagine you are talking to your wife now. Tell her what you want her to know. I noticed you were directing your comments to me in the group. Would you look at several others while you are sharing? Between now and our next session, will you keep track of one thing you do for yourself each day? Reframing is inviting a different perspective. The practitioner invites clients to see experiences, feelings, thoughts, behaviors, or situations in a new way. Reframing can increase success in achieving action steps. Reframing can use questions to invite clients to see things differently. Reframing encourages clients to think about something that they have avoided. Maybe his disruptive behavior in class is an indication that he is bored. So we're trying to get them to think in a different way. Identifying discrepancies is similar to confrontation. By identifying discrepancies, it usually involves a behavior that is moving the client away, not toward a desired behavior, but away from a desired behavior. You're talking about being scared, but you're smiling. Previously, it seemed like we had reached an agreement, and now I hear you are not ready to do that. You said you wanted your son to move home, but you are also shaking your head no. Skills to enhance achievement of steps. Discrepancies can include what a client is saying or doing and what the practitioner is noticing. One of the things that we need to recognize is that it is difficult to read body language online. It's if you're on the telephone, you're telecommuting, teleconferencing. It's hard to see unless you're Skyping. And then usually you can only see their face. You can't see their hands. You can't see their body attitude. And this is something that you need to think about when we start counseling online. What a client is saying and what the practitioner heard the client say another time. What a client is saying in the meeting and the client's actions outside the meeting. What the client says is important or is the goal and his or her behavior. Feedback can be in the form of stating what the practitioner sees and hears, sharing an awareness of what clients are showing nonverbally or expressing that in their tone of voice. Groups and family members can be invited to give feedback. I noticed that you are smiling. You look like you are about to cry. I notice your hands are clenched. I think the team is beginning to agree as I see heads nodding. Self-disclosure can be used to show personal information, observations, and opinions to give the client a different perspective or offer an illustration or example. The information from the self-disclosure may be about the practitioner's personal experience or his or her experience of the client. Self-disclosure should only be used when the relationship is strong. Self-disclosure should be employed sparingly. Goals of self-disclosure should be enhance or preserve the relationship. The practitioner's needs to not take precedence. The practitioner's needs do not take precedence. It is the client's needs that should take precedence. Used for the benefit of the client. It should always be the benefit of the client. Ethical concerns of self-disclosure can be a way of subtly including personal values into the interactions, and you need to be very, very careful of that. When responding to direct and personal questions, a practitioner should consider what led the client to ask the questions. Is it an effort to change the relationship to something less professional? A question may be a way of asking for advice. Self-disclosure can enhance the genuineness of the relationship. Immediacy is where the practitioner comments on what seems to be happening currently in the relationship. Immediacy can help the client understand other relationships. Immediacy involves the practitioner sharing his or her own thoughts and feelings. Immediacy is about what is happening in the moment with the client. And that is the end of chapter 14. So let's get rid of this. There we go. Okay, now the last chapter. Boom! Last chapter. Chapter 15, Evaluating and Ending Professional Relationships. So let's see how this turns out. Evaluating progress needs to be continuous throughout the counseling process. Before the first meeting, the practitioner should evaluate whether additional information is needed, information about the client, evaluate what level of expertise that will be needed for this client. During exploration stage, practitioners evaluate if they have necessary information about resources needed. Do they have the expertise to work with special needs of the client? And of course, that is a question you have to be continually asking yourself. Do I have the skills to do this? And of course, you should have the confidence that you will be able to help your client. But if your client has exceptional needs, if they are severely schizophrenic and you've never dealt with somebody with a psychosis before, then probably you ought to pass the baton to somebody else. The practitioner needs to perform ongoing evaluation after each session is done to identify how well the clients think he or she is being heard and to determine the strength of the relationship. The good question would be, which one of these two individuals do you think is the client and which one is the counselor? One of them sitting up straight and the other one is more slouched. Does slouched mean that that individual is the counselor because they're comfortable, or is it the client? Good question. During the exploration phase, the practitioner evaluates whether they fully understand the problem, situation, and issues of the client. During the goal-setting phase, practitioners monitor the quality of the alliance and baseline assessments of actions. During the action phase, the practitioner and client develop a plan for goal achievement that is a blueprint to evaluate progress. After each meeting, the practitioner should consider whether the work is leading to the achievement of the identified goals. If the skills being used aren't helpful, the practitioner needs to adjust the technique. And this is something that you might think about if you're not making contact with the individual. I think I told you the story of the individual I was counseling, and that individual, every time I said something, it was wrong. All the advice I gave him was way off base as far as he was concerned. So I tried to pass him off to somebody else, and he didn't want it. He didn't like it. He was in a household where he was the one that was always being told he was wrong. So he wanted to experience that, I guess, with me, and that's one of the reasons why, he did things like ask me, "Oh, don't you like me? Is that why you don't want to be my counselor anymore?" Of course, I took him back, and of course, it went on the way it did before. But he was a little bit more receptive to some of the things I said. Um, anyway, you need to adjust your techniques if it's not working. If progress is being made, it is important to highlight successes and focus on improvement. Evaluation should emphasize progress to be supportive of the client and gratifying for the practitioner. Demonstrating progress through evaluations demonstrates success. Success enhances self-esteem by showing the client that they can succeed. As self-efficacy increases, so does the client's sense of empowerment. One of the most important times for evaluation occurs during the ending process. What was the most helpful? What did not work well? What was learned? What are additional areas for growth? Scaling questions are an excellent tool to use for evaluating progress. They can be used in your final evaluation with the client. If the scores are lower, the practitioner might discuss additional work that the client needs to do to accelerate their progress. Let's review our goal attainment continuum again to see if you believe you've reached the expected outcome. When we began working on reviewing the agency's policies on providing services to elderly clients, we identified several goals. In our next meeting, let's review what we have accomplished in relation to each goal. As you know, our final meeting will be 3 weeks from today, reminding the client of when the relationship will end. Before our next meeting, will you think about what has been most helpful for you? Early on in this project, we established clear goals. I think we should talk together about whether those goals have been achieved and decide if further work is necessary. Is that okay with you? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being completely satisfied with where you are in relation to this goal that we set, what number would you give yourself? I remember that when we started working together, you told me that folks in the family yelled at each other at almost every meal. You have come a long way since then. Let's spend a few minutes reviewing what you have accomplished since we began working together. Good practitioners are continually involved in evaluation of their work. As a matter of fact, I do that. I do that with my own work. I do that every time I read my PowerPoints. I try to determine if the PowerPoints are getting the point across. Sometimes I add new pictures. Sometimes I take pictures out. Sometimes, well, anyway, this is a joke, as you can see. This guy. This is the way he really looks, and this is the way he sees himself. Practitioners may elicit feedback about things they said or did that were helpful or those that were not. Clients can be invited following ending of services to complete a written form on their satisfaction. Evaluations can be reviewed face-to-face or not. Receiving this evaluation information gives the practitioner information for helping future clients. Professional relationships end for a number of reasons. Managed care tells you exactly how many times you can see a client. Insurance will do the same thing. Lack of funds, achievement of goals, lack of satisfaction with progress, of course. When clients leave unexpectedly, it is good to follow up. Ask clients about their decision to leave whenever possible. The practitioner should indicate to the client that the meetings are ending. The client and practitioner may decide to have less frequent meetings before the final ending. The client and practitioner need to summarize such things as what has been most important, what changes have been made, what was most difficult. Reviewing and remembering both the good and difficult times in the process is very important. Some people want to only look at their success. They don't want to look at their failures. If you have taken my cultural psychology class, then you know that there are certain groups or cultures that always look at the negative and they rarely look at the positive. Asians, for example, the Japanese and Chinese, with their tiger moms and whatnot, they're always focusing on how they can improve rather than on their successes. American parents tend to look at their success, to focus on success and to build the self-esteem of the child. So it's a totally different process, and it's just fascinating the way all these things work out. So you should look at the bad parts and the good parts as well. If you ignore the bad parts, then you'll never improve. In the ending process for a professional relationship, the practitioner and client identify what tasks remain to be completed after the relationship has ended. In the ending process for a professional relationship, the practitioner tells the client that they can return for future meetings if they need to. In the ending process for a professional relationship, the practitioner invites feedback about the entirety of their work together. At the end of a professional relationship, the practitioner asks the client if there are any final questions. Saying goodbye. Feelings about ending a long-term relationship. In long-term relationships, the client and practitioner need to allow time to talk about their feelings. Sorry, I needed a drink. Some clients feel a sense of loss, sadness, fear, and/or anger. Clients may feel happy about their achievements and ready to move on. Positive reactions and pride in their work is as common as sadness or anger. Feeling about ending, if the client has limited supportive relationships or is hesitant about their ability to continue on their own, they may express more painful feelings. Ending with groups can bring similar feelings. Practitioners may also experience emotions. As appropriate, practitioners can share their feelings. I'm going to miss seeing you and hearing about your progress. I am happy that you have achieved your goals. I'm going to miss our time together. I feel sad when I think about not seeing you, but I am glad that you are satisfied with the progress that we have made. This will be the last time that I see you. I am glad to have been a part of your journey as you figured out the best way to help your aging father. I hope the nursing home works out well for your father. I'm glad that in our work together you were able to mend your relationship with your brother. I hope that over time you will become close friends and support each other. I can see that you're really excited about the opportunities that your new job is going to provide for you. I'm so glad that you achieved your goal of getting a new job that offers you new opportunities. Ending with task groups and larger groups involves the same process as ending with a single client relationship. It is important to talk about when work will be completed. Work with the group to develop a thorough summary of what has been accomplished in order to stabilize future changes. Ending with task groups and larger groups, make plans for sustaining and building on the group's accomplishments, develop a system for evaluating the work accomplished and giving feedback. This should all be in place. Celebrating successes should be included. Since next week will be our last meeting together, I think we should make a plan for how we will celebrate everything that you have accomplished. I have enjoyed working with each of you and will miss seeing you. I am confident that you folks will continue to use the parenting methods you learned in this group. Identifying career-long processes, professionals should participate in self-evaluation and evaluation of clients by getting feedback from peers and supervisors. Practitioners pursue ongoing professional development through participating in personal counseling, reflecting on your own values and ethics in your work with diverse clients, participating in lifelong learning to keep abreast of new ideas and resources. Create a career development plan that might include practice skills and knowledge related to different types of client challenges, different cultural groups, different size systems, professional journals, continuing education, deciding whether to specialize or not, staying current with evidence-based practice, keeping current with research is expected. And of course, these are things that you need to do. Yeah, if you think, well, I guess it's possible to just deal with your own plan or whatever, but that's probably not going to happen. There you go, we're finished. She's sick of goodbyes. Anyway, that's it. So you guys need to start counseling. You need to start calling each other. Calling each other. Well, that means you don't have telephone numbers, do you? I'll tell you what. What you need to do is email each other, and maybe that way you can ask somebody for their telephone number, or for a Zoom meeting, or for a Skype meeting. I'm not exactly sure how you're communicating with other individuals. Let me get rid of this thing. There we go. Okay. Anyway, if anybody has any problems, we will solve those problems in the next 5 weeks, because that's it. Next week is the 10th week. That'll give us the 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That'll give us 5 weeks. Some people are talking about ending the semester early. As soon as you're done with all the work that you have, all the discussions, all the quizzes, you've written your paper about the problem that your client has, and you've done your 10 counseling sessions, you are finished. That's it. And if you can finish by before the end of October, more power to you. But all of you need to get, well, there's, like I showed you, there's 9 people that have their character histories in. They've created their characters and they're ready to go. There's 9 people that have done that. I'm assuming that you're going to be communicating with each other. This is your responsibility. It's not mine at this point. If someone has problems, they don't have telephone reception. Nobody will counsel with them. Then you need to email me, and you need to get this thing started as quickly as you possibly can, because you've got 10 to do. There's 5 more weeks left, so that's 2 a week, 2 counseling sessions a week. And the only way that I know that you've done it is by putting in your counseling notes. So you need to put in your counseling notes underneath the client. If the client isn't there, then you can't counsel them. You can only counsel the individuals who have created characters. So you need to get your characters in. There's a bunch of you. Over half of you still haven't gotten your histories in, and you need to write your paper. Your paper needs to be a 5-page paper dealing with the problem that your client has, whether it's depression or alcoholism or child abuse or whatever. Okay, this is probably the last lecture for this class, unless I need to put something else together. So keep me posted as to how you're doing, and of course I'm going to see your counseling notes. And I'll be grading your papers and whatnot. So good luck, and I'll be grading you at the end. I'll be grading you for the next 5 weeks, actually, for the next 6 weeks. Okay. See you later. Stay safe.